Hey, this is Jeff from Trev Deeley Motorcycles here in Vancouver, BC, Canada. And today, we're asking the question, why should you choose a Pan America? So I've been researching these bikes because I am very interested in purchasing one myself after having rode one around for a solid weekend. And I cannot get enough of this bike, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. The Pan America is a misunderstood motorcycle in the Harley-Davidson lineup. You could say that. There's a million videos out there about the Pan America and why it is the weird vehicle for the motor company to have in their stable. But I'm going to tell you why it's actually an amazing, flexible Swiss Army knife of a motorcycle that is more powerful than every Harley-Davidson you've ever ridden. These are everything that a Harley-Davidson is and should be, all wrapped up in a beautiful package. One of the things I found about the Pan America when I took it out over the weekend is this motor pulls hard. It is incredible. I know what this thing looks like. It looks like an off-road adventure touring bike. On the road, it's phenomenal. And this is one of those things that you can't really get with a regular Harley-Davidson. You have a liquid-cooled, high horsepower V-twin motor, and it is nothing like the Harleys that you rode, but it's everything you would expect out of a Harley-Davidson. So this bike is classified as an adventure touring motorcycle, which is great. It's kind of a misnomer. If you pit the Pan America up against a KTM, a Tenere, an Africa Twin, you're gonna notice it doesn't look quite like those bikes. Those bikes all have large tanks. They're very wide. They're a little bit top heavy. They're kind of beefy. Maybe the Tenere, not so much. It has adventure bike aesthetics, but it retains that Harley-Davidson character that you expect from the motor company. One of the things I really like about it is just how beautiful it is. On a lot of the adventure bikes, you'll notice they have a nose, a beak. The fender comes out over the front. And I mean, that's cool if you like birds, you know, maybe screaming eagles. But on this bike, they've bobbed the nose. It looks really cool. It's a little more stylish in the adventure category. And it gets me thinking, how could I use this bike in not an adventure capacity? What if you streeted this bike? One of the cool things about the Pan America is the Swiss Army knife configuration of this bike and how you can customize it to make it your very own. The racking systems, all the pieces on this, you can use the Harley bags, you can use aftermarket bags, you can go hard bags, you can go soft bags, you can have a tail bag, you can configure it in any possible way to carry all of your stuff. There's infinite ways you can customize this bike to make it look cool. If you don't want to think of this bike as an adventure bike, you don't have to. It's a very streetable motorcycle. You can take it out on the road and absolutely rip on this thing. And with a few tiny little changes, you can make this bike a sport touring bike. As far as the pure riding aspects of this bike go, if you've been on a cruiser, this bike is a completely different experience. And we want to always talk about the experience with Harley-Davidsons. There's nothing else quite like this. The balance is unreal on this bike. I know we've heard a lot of people say that it's top heavy. We've heard a lot of people say that it's kind of awkward. When you get on this bike and you ride it, it is incredibly motionless. It reminds me of riding a mountain bike when I was younger, without the pedals, of course, but it's very skinny. It's very agile. It's very controllable. I went back to my old motorcycle training days and I could feel that you can move the bike with your body and with your legs. Something that's a little more difficult to do when you're on a large cruiser with forward controls. You have the mid controls here and it makes the bike just infinitely more controllable. So if you're like me, you have kind of a shorter inseam, the bike actually has an option on it to move the stock seat into one of two positions. On the black bike here, we can see that the position is in the low position. The seat's down low, so it gives you a little more reach toward the pedals. And if you come over here to the gray bike, on the billiard gray version of the bike, the seat's in the top high position. So on this high position, if you have an average normal inseam length that's not 30, you can sit on this bike in comfort and style, and you're up high on the bike. There's a little bump on the passenger pillion that keeps you locked into the seat as you're riding the bike. It's an amazingly comfortable seat right out of the box. Waterproof, durable. It's made for long trips. It's very comfortable. So on the 2024 Pan America, actually on all the Pan America models so far, it has a one-finger operated windshield. So you can squeeze the trigger, use the lever, pop the windshield up, get that wind off of you while you're riding at speed. Or if you're in town and you want a little extra breeze, you can lock that down. The wind will come up over and keep your face nice and cool while you're riding in town. I know you're probably gonna ask, why isn't it electronic? It's more stuff to go wrong while you're out on the road. It's another piece that can fail. When you have a piece like this that is manually operated and it is analog, it's so much easier than sitting there waiting for a little motor to actuate it. Little dig at the other bikes. Other cool features on this bike, the breakaway handguards. So if you're doing some off-road stuff on this bike, one of the complaints that people have about bars is if you do go over while you're riding it and you get your hand stuck in a bark buster or something like that, it's not going to go anywhere and you could easily cause some damage to yourself. And if you're off-road, even if you're on-road, that's not very fun. So if you do have a crash, off-road or on-road, these do break away, keeps your hands safe in the event of a crash. Little cool safety feature there. One of the very cool things I found out about the Pan America, and it's generally for off-road use, but I found it on the street actually to be very, very handy. Again, with the short legs. So this is really cool. Come in tight on here. On your brake pedal, you can pull and turn the pedal portion to give you an extra ½ inch of lift. So normally what you would use this for is on an off-road scenario when you're riding in handlebars and you're lugging in first gear, it gives you a little extra purchase. So when you're standing up on the bike, I found even in traffic, having that extra little bit of height on the pedal makes it just a lot easier to control and find the brake. Especially if you're coming from another Harley-Davidson where you have a different style of brake pedal, or like for example, for me, I'm on a touring bike, the brake pedal's almost straight up. So having to relearn how to ride a bike with mid controls, having the ability to put this up makes it a really easy transition from having the front brake pedal to a bit of a different brake pedal style. While we're down here, one of the other really cool features about the Pan America, if you're out in the bush, you can pop this rubber portion of the pedal off and you're left with a nice serrated grip. So you have lots of grip in wet and slippery conditions, and you can go back on the highway and just pop this right back in, and you have a little bit more vibration damping for when you're out on the road. And then you can also do this, which is really cool, with the passenger peg. Exact same thing, it just pops out. And then you have extra traction for your passenger in wet conditions so they don't fall off the bike. There have been a couple of really awesome features. The motor company really listened to the first couple of years of production on these motorcycles, and they've made some changes that have really affected the rideability of the 2024 Pan America. Very, very simple thing. They've put a heat shield / guard down low on top of the catalytic converter on the exhaust manifold. And what that does is it just stops the rock chips coming up. So say, for example, you don't quite have the money yet to put a skid plate or anything on this, or you want to run it without the extra added weight of a skid plate. They put this little shield on here, stops a little bit of the heat from getting at your boot, and it stops rocks and dirt from coming up and hitting and damaging your header pipe. Additionally, they have added some tabs onto the side guard mounts, and these tabs can be used for things like adding in additional lighting, and there's also a mount for additional brackets or additional crash protection and additional bags and all those kind of things. And of course, tubeless tires. This bike is spoked, but what's really cool about these, it's similar to the CVO models of the motorcycles, where you have the top end of the spokes is on the outside of the rims. It's a really cool feature on the wheels. The 2024 Pan Americas, they only come as a special model, which means you have the adaptive ride height built right in. So I talked a little bit earlier about the adjustability of the seat. The ride height capabilities are actually really cool on this as well. You sit on it, turn the bike on, and it sets the sag to your weight. And then when you're riding, it lifts 2 inches. It gives you that little bit of extra tallness to the bike while you're riding it. And then when you come to a stop and apply the brake, it sinks back down so you can touch once again. This is a little feature that is for all of my buddies who I mocked for having heated grips. Game changer. The Pan America comes with stock heated grips. And I know, I talked a lot of smack about heated grips in the past. Oh, you're so precious with your hands, you need to keep them warm. I turned these heated grips on when I was riding. We were at Balcarra, it was a little bit chilly, and I turned the heated grips on, and I was like, are you kidding me? This is amazing. So It's those little finer things in life. So for everyone who I've ever wronged saying that heated grips are a waste of money, oh my God, I was so wrong. These are so awesome. Standard heated grips on the Pan America. So my friends and I, for years, we've rode around Vancouver, we've rode around BC, we've gone to Idaho, we've gone to Oregon, we've gone to California, we've gone to Montana, we've gone to all these places. And BC remains still relatively unexplored. There's still some places further north that we can go. And so when I start thinking about the Pan America and I'm thinking about the flexibility and I'm thinking about the places I could go on this motorcycle, there's so much more province I could see still. And this bike would let me do that exact thing. You want to talk about adventures, you want to talk about going and finding somewhere that you've never been before? That's really the key to it. Really, at the end of the day, if you're comparing this bike to another modern touring bike, it's lighter, it's faster, it's more agile, it's nimble, and you can do so much with this motorcycle. They're really a true flexible bike. A lot of really cool features, stuff that you don't get on the normal Harley-Davidson bikes. It's all electronic, it's all beautiful, everything's working. They're fantastic, fantastic bikes. I can't even tell you how much faster and how much more nimble and how much quicker and how much more fun these are to ride. They're such a blast. If there's one bike that I would want to take on, and I know I've said this before, I said this about the ST, I said about the ST, that would be the bike that I would buy if I didn't have the bike that I have. I am now fully committed to the Pan America. It is such a cool bike. It is one that I want to see in my garage very soon.